and welcome to episode 61 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast, the longest Stadia podcast this side of Google Maps. You're joining myself, Chris, one of your hosts, alongside the man of many pixels. Did it a different order this week for some reason. Mr. Richie, you're up first this week. Take the stage, my friend. How are you doing?
I think you tripped yourself up a bit there. You went for me. He's like, what do I say?
I don't know why. I do it every week. Every week,
Yeah.
I pause at the simplest of things, which is just introduce your two friends on the podcast. But here you go, Richie. Take the stage.
As soon as you realised you were talking about me, not Tom, he's like, yeah, I could just seen your eyes. You just
the panic sets in.
Yeah. But it's because we've got a crazy busy week. That's why. But welcome, Richie. Welcome to the show. Welcome back, of course.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. And of course, in the backwards order we do things here at Sounds of Stadia, the techie teacher himself, Mr. Tom, joining us once again. How are you doing, Tom?
Finally caught up on some sleep, so I'm feeling good. I got that energy back today, so yeah.
Would that be Mountain Dew energy by any chance?
It would be. Mountain Dew, available at all local convenience stores.
And a bottle so green that it looks nuclear.
It does, doesn't it? It's insane. I still can't get over how green that bottle is.
Do you think at some point consciously you stopped drinking Mountain Dew because of how nuclear it looks? Because I used to drink it all the time, and then I feel like there was a cognitive decision made somewhere down the line where I thought, this can't be good for me when it's neon green.
Well, I think it's just how sugary it actually tastes. It doesn't taste like a fruity sugary. It just tastes like 100%.
It's a liquid sugar.
Yeah. It's like drinking a fizzy syrup.
Might as well just have molasses at this point, really.
Sugar and water from Men in Black, right?
Sugar water.
Vincent D'Onofrio, as we pointed out on another previous episode.
Yeah, we did.
But that's not what you're here for. You're not here to talk about famous actors of a bygone era. You are here to talk about Stadia. With myself and our other host, Richie, because this is the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode number 61. As I said, if you're new to the show, myself and my lovely host bring you a weekly roundup of all the Stadia and gaming news for your listening or viewing pleasure. We do appreciate all of your love and support, but if you are new and you forgot to do so already, please give the video a like down below and subscribe to the channel. It really does help us out with those magical Google algorithms and help us rise to the top of the pile along with the rest of the best. We've got a great show lined up for you this week, as always. Busy week. We had Stadia's birthday. Congratulations, Woo! Happy birthday once again. Celebrations all over the place. We did celebrations, the community did celebrations, and even just yesterday, Sunday, before this goes live, we all took part, of course, in the Stadia Super Saturday event. We had a great time playing the one and only Ghost Recon Wildlands. We had a great first look at that. I don't know if it was good or bad because we haven't done it yet. It hasn't happened.
I really liked I really liked the part where that thing happened.
Oh yeah,
that was amazing.
Yeah, when Richie shot that guy,
I killed everyone
in Bolivia, and everything just worked.
He started disappearing and reappearing again.
Of course, it's going to be smooth as anything.
Yes, absolutely.
But like I said, that's all in the past or in the future for us. But like I said, great show lined up. We had Stadia's birthday. We've got some Cyberpunk Premier Edition news happening because, quite frankly, they're just giving this shit away at this point. Alongside that, we've got the return of iOS support and some 007 magic from IO Interactive, which I am super excited to talk about and get into.
I thought you would be.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's a great partnership. Plus, games. We're getting them rated, we're getting them released. Got some big titles. We've got Jedi Fallen Order coming up this week, gentlemen. So after this goes live tomorrow, Tuesday, 24th of November, we have a lot of people's Game of the Year last year. It does have one Game Award nomination for this week. I can't remember what category it is, but it's got a Game Award nomination. But before we get into all that exciting stuff, let's talk a little bit about our housekeeping we have had come up this week. So myself and Richie, it's been long promised, but not only did Stadia have a birthday this week, but so did Guilt. Guilt, the first exclusive game on this platform from Tequila Works, had the first birthday. And finally, Richie, after many years of saying we were going to do it, I think we were going to do it last Halloween.
1 year.
1 year.
We've been promising it for a year.
We got around to it, and our first look of Guilt is up. And did we jump a few times? Yes. Did we get scared a few times? Yes. But that's certainly up there. We had a great time with that one. Really good. Loads of fun. Go check it out if you haven't done so already. And a couple of other things, like we said before, like and subscribe to the video. But more importantly, if you want to get more involved in our chat, go check out our Discord group, because that is non-stop gaming chat, just generally just a great bunch of people chatting all things they love and they're passionate about, and it's a wonderful place. So if you do want to get more involved, the link is in the description below. Head over to our Discord and get in touch with all the amazing people in this community.
And I'm going to send a message in it right now.
Right now? What are you going to say? What are you going to say?
This message is live during the podcast.
You do realise they're all going to send questions straight back.
Bring it on. Let's do a live one now.
Bring it
Let's
on.
carry on.
Bring it on.
We've got a lot to talk
assume
about.
that we're currently recording the podcast.
Every Sunday. Every Sunday. And
Every Sunday.
like we said, we did take part in the Stadia Super Sunday event. So that's just happened as well, or it's about to happen. So if you haven't done that, go check that out. Go check out all of the amazing content creators, because it's a 36
hours worth of fantastic creators
event. Yeah, if you're ever starved for Stadia stuff to watch, you've just got you've got well over a day's worth of content. Go check out, and there's amazing people from big or small. We're all growing together as a community, and you amazing people out there with your support is what helps us keep doing it. Gives us the energy, the drive, and the passion to stick at it and play these games and chat about these games for your discussing pleasure. And speaking of discussing games, Tom, I suppose that brings us on to...
Wow, cracking on to the super sexy special Stadia Story segment, aka the news.
Bit delayed on the video take there. I don't know why it didn't come in.
That's
early,
all right.
But there it is, the news. For some reason, when you click the little eye in OBS, if you get to unclick it from last week's recording, it doesn't bring it back up. So when you unclick it, nothing happens.
You need to reset it.
Yeah, but it's one of the many, many little intricate things that I need to remember on a weekly basis. Alongside living my life, it's and playing Stadia games, of course. It's been a tough one. But that does bring us to our first story of the week. And we are delighted to tell you all that Stadia is coming to more countries, finally. So if you are one of our listeners listening out there who has not actually had a chance to play Stadia yet, but you're incredibly interested in this technology because it works, clearly, there's hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of people now playing Stadia.
Turns out it's not dead.
It turns out it's not dead. Of the three... on Twitter, when they say the three people who have Stadia will enjoy that, yeah, we will. Us three, we'll all enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Every
week.
Every week, me, Richie and Tom prop up Stadia with our only support. But no, there's hundreds of... My friend list is like 100 people plus right now. And it's just every day creeps up with more people online, and it's great to see. But we've been asking for this for a while, right, gentlemen? We've seen it. I think, Richie, you mentioned it almost on a weekly basis. On Twitter, on social media, you see people, when is this coming to India? When is this coming to Australia? When is this coming to... It just doesn't end. And it's good to see they're making moves, because I think last week, we didn't talk about it, Amazon Luna announced their... Was it Luna or was it Xbox? xCloud, sorry.
xCloud.
Yeah, xCloud announced their rollout to more countries, which hits things like Oceania and Australia and the like. So, welcome. If you're new to Stadia, if you're new to the whole podcasting community that we have surrounding us here, welcome. You're all welcome here.
Yeah.
You haven't specified which countries.
Actually, I've got a list for you, so I can run through those if you'd like me to. As of the 1st of December, the following countries will be added within the European region. So we're getting access to Stadia in Czechia, Hungary, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, and Switzerland.
Welcome.
Yeah,
now,
so as of the 1st of December.
Yeah, I would love to say welcome in your native language right now. However, I don't know. Is there any?
There's a fair few languages there.
Well, we have some Polish friends as well. We should
do.
We should really learn that kind of stuff. What do we know any from the countries that are there, so we can welcome them correctly?
I mean, we do have access to wonderful tools such as Google Translate.
We'll figure that out. What we'll do is, if you remember last year's Christmas special when we all had to introduce Merry Christmas in a different language. I know Richie has...
You just sprung it on us.
If you won't know. What was it? Feliz Navidad was yours, Tom.
Nice and easy.
And what was Richie, you got some ridiculous...
You give me the hardest one you can think of.
Of course. So we've got some exciting introductions then. As those countries come live, no doubt we'll be welcoming some fresh faces to the Stadia community. So it's great to see. And I think it's about time, right, gentlemen? It's been out for a year. We've said all along that the great thing with Stadia is there's no logistics realistically before this can go live. As long as the country has the internet... Obviously, Google will maybe banking on the infrastructure or maybe the locale of their servers. But we'll see how that.
I kind of wonder, in some places, it's probably more down to the infrastructure in that country. If it's solid enough to support Stadia.
Yeah.
Because it's not, the thing is, it's not only just about speed, it's about the reliability of the connection.
Yeah.
And they don't want to roll out somewhere and get a terrible name in that country because the internet is terrible in that country.
Yeah,
it's true. It's true. I like the fact that they're addressing that it's going to be coming to more EMEA regions by the end of the year, though, as well. So not only have we got this list of the extra 7 countries that are being added as of the 1st of December, but EMEA, it encompasses Middle East and Asia as well. So these countries are very specifically European countries, but there's no touch on Middle East or Asia yet. However, they have said by the end of the year. So we could see some access over in the Middle East. We know we've got a lot of people out there who are really keen to get their hands on Stadia out in the Middle East. Asia's an interesting one, though, because I don't really think we get much interactivity with people on websites like Twitter or Reddit from the Asian community, and I don't really see much. But obviously, it's a massive community. There's literally most of the planet's population is over in Asia.
I've seen the Facebook groups occasionally people from India. Places like that, but not necessarily things like China or Japan.
Yeah, so Far East and Asia, for example.
Yeah. It may just be a language thing, like the way Twitter might filter down languages. If I don't see anything in my Twitter feed, but again, it probably just localizes it towards your language because you don't want tons of stuff that you genuinely can't understand. So. Again, hopefully we'll see that. We'll see people reaching out. We'll see people joining. And we're going to see people definitely jumping on board with Stadia in the coming months because speaking of getting more things in people's hands, Cyberpunk came out this week with some... Cyberpunk Stadia, it was kind of like a weird mixed birthday announcement that... we should probably say, the birthday announcement rollouts, were we expect anything more? I personally was waiting for a video drop at 5 o'clock rather than, and instead we seem to get some random sporadic announcements mixed in with a community blog and then a Twitter post and then other such things, and then it wasn't as glued together as I would have
clean cut.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting anything. I was hoping for stuff, but at this point it's become very difficult to predict with Google what you're going to get, and sometimes we do put these expectations on it. It must be annoying for the guys at Google working on stuff. It's the community's saying we want all this stuff, and that's not what we're doing.
Shit, we've got that lined up for a different date. Bring it forward anyway. Whatever.
So we've got a couple of announcements and we're going to cover them off, but I think the biggest birthday announcement, we've joked and weeks gone by saying,
my cake.
Yeah, they didn't send you the cake, Richie. We'll bill them for that massive 10-tier cake that you did order in honor of Google Stadia.
They promised me a cake.
We got a short video with it. The cake looked gorgeous, by the way. Any Cake Boss fans out there?
Does it come with the phone inside the cake though? That's what I want to know. That little phone that I was playing Pac-Man inside it. I want to know.
Yeah, they hired someone to make that.
Yeah.
What a request to come through at, I don't know, what LA bakery or California bakery was that? Just go, we'd like to make you a cake in the shape of an S. Is that possible? Yes, but it's a very specific S. And also, can you bake a Google Pixel into it? Just like that. Can Wi-Fi get through the thickness of the sponge layers and the cream that you have inside that cake?
And just to clarify, it must be playing Pac-Man Mega Tunnel Battle at the same time.
Do you think they gave the people who made the cake...
to survive the baking process?
Yeah. Do you think they gave the people who made the cake a Premier Edition?
I mean, at this point, why not, right? Because everybody else has got their hands on it.
Premier Edition for you, Premier Edition for you, Premier Edition for Kuma.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite common knowledge now that if you look in a mirror and say Google Stadia 3 times, a Stadia Premier Edition will appear on your sink countertop. It is
stranger things have happened.
But so we should focus on that then. So in line with kind of Cyberpunk kind of hitting its what should have been grand launch day. Instead, we got an announcement kind of in line with Google Stadia that if you pre-order Cyberpunk 2077, or if you have already pre-ordered Cyberpunk 2077, come launch day, they will start rolling out emails to let you know, you lucky people out there, that you're in line for a Stadia Premier Edition. So that's another £90, $80, whatever the current going rate is for these things, for free. And you'll get your email, they'll ship it out in the post within a couple of working days after launch. As long as you pre-order before December 18th. So even after the game's launched, you can still buy the game and get the platform for free. Now, this is obviously unprecedented marketing because I couldn't have feasibly... There's never going to be a world we live in where Sony give away a PlayStation or an Xbox. Maybe this is like a national giveaway. There's one prize up for grabs.
That's not actually true because my dad has a PS4 because he switched his internet providers.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. But like
you didn't buy a game.
But that's your dad committing to like 18 months of paying a contract though. That's not 50 quid on a game.
Buying a 50 quid game. Yeah.
But in terms of
stuff like that does exist.
I mean, giveaways exist 100%.
That's like going with a mobile phone company and buying a pay as you go for like 50 quid top up for your phone, but getting the phone for free.
That's
basically
£800
what it's
iPhone.
Like. Yeah,
just for free off the back of it. It just makes me think how many Premier Editions exist because we've got the stock allocation, which was just free for the YouTube Premium people, and we know that's sold out in the UK and the US. But so it does turn out that stock was allocated specifically for that deal. And then we've obviously got the stuff in the shop that's going on the Black Friday deals because they're also on offer. So it seems a bit counterproductive to that because why would you drop 50, 60 quid on a Premier Edition now when you can pretty much get one on eBay from all the people who got them for free and don't want them for like 20, 30 pound. And then on the flip side, you just have to pre-order arguably one of the biggest titles of the year and you get it for free.
I found this weird because this is a sort of deal if you're going to do, you kind of want to have the deal in place for when the pre-order is announced. But I've had Cyberpunk pre-ordered for a good few weeks now, and it seems like quite on the day of when it was meant to come out initially, suddenly actually the store went down a bit for Cyberpunk. There was a lot of issues there. And then they come back with, and those who have already pre-ordered have, here you go, here's a Premier Edition. It's like, I wonder if the store went down was a data collection thing. How many people?
No, it was to update the listing of the game. So the game has actually changed. I won't say it's changed ID. It hasn't changed like an ID in the store, but the description changed. It had to be updated. So I wonder whether the service is in place where they can't just push it live. They have to sort of like take the game down to update it to put it back on there. I think it's worth saying at this point actually that the announcement didn't just come from Google Stadia. It also came directly from the Cyberpunk official Twitter as well. And that's huge news in itself because that's now out there to everybody following Cyberpunk on social media, which is basically just saying, oh, you're interested in buying the game? Well, why don't you buy the game and get the platform to play it on completely for free? No downloads, no installs, no updates. And that's going to be a huge game changer, I think, for a lot of people.
I think the good news we got with Cyberpunk essentially being the PC port, they clarified that when they had to delay previously, saying that it's last gen holding it back. It is the PS4 and the old Xbox that are stopping it from launching because they need to quash some bugs and such. And then someone said, is it Stadia and the 9 platforms holding it back? And one of the developers actively came out and said, well, Stadia is essentially just the PC port and that's done. So that's great to know we're getting one of the most optimized versions. But then, Tom, on the flip side of that, CD Projekt Red coming out en masse to their millions of followers who've been watching this game like a hawk for nigh on 5 years now, to come out and say, if you want this game, get it now with the console. And I do really think this is great from both an optics standpoint, but then how many people in your newsfeeds the last couple of days have not managed to get their hands on the PS5 or their Xbox Series 1X because of stock issues, scalpers, delivery shit shows, all the stuff you're seeing.
Chris.
I mean, no, I'm not talking me. I got mine. I'm happy with mine. But in terms of all like the people who got sent cat food in their Amazon parcels, people who got like their item was delivered and then the guy just never shows up with the package, like all those poor people, let alone the people who didn't manage to clinch one, and they're now just scrambling every single shred of information they hear about pre-orders. They're fighting every other person on the virtual high street to get their hands on this for their kids, for Christmas, for themselves. It's absolutely crazy. And the reality is, if you want to play Cyberpunk this Christmas, you can get it, but you can also get it with the platform for free. There's a controller, there's a Chromecast Ultra, there's the game for £50, gentlemen. 50 Great British pounds will land you the next gen, one of the biggest titles of this next gen, whatever it ends up being called.
It's also worth noting at that point as well, when you mentioned the cost of the game, that the game is actually cheaper as well on Stadia than it is on some other rival platforms. So, to me, it's sort of like a no-brainer in some part. I mean, I know we're quite invested in Stadia at this point here, and we're always going to be quite somewhat biased towards the platform.
You
Yeah,
wouldn't
let's be
didn't
real.
work.
Yeah.
If the platform was crap.
Yeah,
Google
if it didn't work.
So, like, if the platform was crap, I wouldn't be buying Cyberpunk.
100%. I'd be playing everything on my PS5 if the tech didn't work.
But it's not just about the fact that these new next-gen consoles are also going out of stock, but even with the latest NVIDIA graphics cards, the GTX 3080s, they came in, they were out of stock again. Same issue. They were coming in, they were gone because, again, people buying them for scalping purposes and so on. I just think, like, it's a great timing for the deal.
Physical new releases this year. One, scalpers being scalpers, and please don't be a scalper. Everyone thinks you're a dick. And number two, things like COVID has meant that people are distancing as much as possible, which means production lines are going to be slower than usual. So they probably physically can't get enough stock built as they probably wanted to.
No, that's true. And Richie, you mentioned before as well about the timing of this announcement as well. So I wonder whether this deal has been struck on the back end of the YouTube Premium free giveaway as well, because the sheer success of that clearly meant that people are going to capitalize on it. So I reckon somebody at Google has probably just looked at that, or a team has sat down and looked at it and gone, well, damn, that was successful. Why don't we now just trial that with a new game that's coming out and see how people feel about it?
The big thing at the moment is getting Stadia in as many people's hands as possible, because that's the way you're going to break the narrative.
Absolutely.
And I still stand by that. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to get rid of all the old Chromecast Ultra stock that they've got sat in the warehouses, move that into Premier Editions, get it off for the next generation of a Chromecast Ultra, which probably, I'd imagine, this time next year, roundabout.
Okay.
Which I'll probably might have, like, because the current one, Sabrina, the Chromecast with Google TV, does 4K now. Maybe the next one starts looking at things like 8K or 6K.
Yeah. Again, I still stand by that we should see some kind of repackaging going into year 2, because putting a Premier Edition with a 4 or 5-year-old Chromecast stick that is no longer available publicly on its own on like a storefront, if they ever do go live on the high street and you see them in our like game retailers, GameStop, Walmart, things like that, they need some kind of gaming focused package. And I think a Chromecast that's more about streaming to your TV isn't specific enough. It's great it does it, but I've already seen loads of people online going, "Wait, I got a free Chromecast Ultra, I'll use it for that," rather than the gaming side. Whereas I do think in future promos and stuff and selling Stadia to the public, it needs to be about the games, not about, oh, you get this kind of bundled in. I think having the controller on the front of the box, just the controller, doesn't... It kind of just makes it look like you're buying a peripheral accessory as opposed to a platform, and I think it could be repackaged in a really good, magical way going forward, and I'm excited to see it.
We've been saying since like very early in this podcast lifespan that some sort of physical presence in brick and mortar stores is a good thing. I think like something like a Premier Edition, I don't necessarily need to be a massive over design of it, but having that in like a PC World, a game, a GameStop, wherever you buy your games, wherever you go to pick up physical copies, wherever you're buying your PlayStation, that sort of place, having it in there puts it more in the minds of gamers, especially those who like once every couple of years, maybe they go buy a new FIFA game.
Yeah.
They walk in, and this is when you can almost have like game bundles in, but it's like it comes with a code. Because we've seen that stuff before, and then you have like FIFA bundle, so the marketing on the front of the box is more FIFA rather than Google.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to so like the box that I've got here, the Premier Edition. Could you see that like half spliced with like Cyberpunk yellow all on this side of the box, and the other part is the control and the Chromecast, and
With
that's on a storefront in a supermarket. It's just there. So when you said, Richie, when people come in and say, "I only play FIFA," and there's that half splice box that has FIFA and the controller, 70 quid. What do I get with that? And they ask the guy in the shop, and he says, "Oh, you get the controller, you get the stick, and you get the game for 20 quid more than you would have done for just buying FIFA annually anyway. And you can play it on your phone, your tablet, and it's that type of marketing that makes people go, so why am I dropping £450 on a PS5 again? Exactly. And I think getting these out in the wild en masse, I've seen it on Twitter. So many people now, if you search for Stadia, just random people online saying, got my free Premier Edition, giving it a crack, immensely impressed, super surprised.
I've seen people saying who were founders didn't like it a year ago, went back to try it because of things like the Cyberpunk news, and saying it's really working quite well now.
Yeah, there's another thing that we'll touch on later as well, but I think there's some news this week that Destiny 2 is now free to play completely without Pro as well. And I think that is also going to bring a lot of those older players back to it because there was always an issue with it being locked behind Pro, I think, whereas you could play it for free on any other platform. But now that that's been remedied, yeah, you are going to get a lot of people back, and that's good because the service has improved since day one. For a year down the line, here we go. Like, now is the real start time.
For Destiny 2, I think the main thing that's crippling that is the lack of crossplay. Bungie need to get that sorted because
we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed we will. I will say
I've got some figures for you
to scalpers as well. Good luck trying to scalp a Premier Edition, dickheads, because there's about 1 million of them in the wild, and they're going for like 20 quid. So you're not going to be making a fortune off the back of these because every man and his dog can get his hands on one. That's how you screw scalpers over, flood the market. Easy business.
It's very true.
Because again, imagine if all these idiots who've gone and bought like 10 PS5s and they're planning on flogging them for like $1,000 and a bit. If Sony were capable of just coming out, or Microsoft were capable of coming out and going, "Oh, we've just acquired another 500,000 stock for you all before Christmas," they're all of a sudden left out of pocket with 5 devices nobody wants to buy off them.
Anyone out there who's listening, thinking about like buying a PS5 or something for scalper, just don't do it. Because if no one buys from them, they've spent out thousands and thousands of pounds buying the stock that's just going to sit there in the house doing nothing.
They'll have to start undercutting themselves.
The best way to get rid of scalpers is literally just go, buy as many as you want. We're not buying it off you.
Yeah, and I think
then eventually you walk into your local GameStop and they'll be there, like in the case, like for like half price unused.
Yeah, there will be. I do actually think though as well is like anyone who says it's the manufacturer fault. It's not Google, Microsoft. Something like they make as many as they physically can. Trust me, they want to sell as many. And the business hardline is if a scalper buys 5 as a business, they've made 5 sales. It's unfortunate, but they can't
sales. Control who's buying it.
Yeah, I saw people saying like you should take people's PlayStation IDs. I'm like, that doesn't stop mum and dad getting it from the local Tesco. Like they don't have a PS ID or an Xbox account. It doesn't work like that. Once you put them out into the world, it's for retail and stuff to sort that out. So
nothing works because people buy off scalpers. That's how it works. It's not down people selling the stuff to the scalpers. It's people buying them.
Could you imagine like an 8-year-old grandma in GameStop, them going, "What's your Xbox ID, madam?" She's like, "My what?" It's like, "You want my what?"
Yeah, you say that, but we're not too far from a future where we've got gamers in their 40s, 50s, even in their 60s at this point. We're not too far from that, really. Where in the future we are going to be the elderly generation of this world, and we will be in a situation where we go into the shop and it'll be like, "What's your Xbox ID, sir?" What's your PlayStation? How many trophies have you got, Chris?
90-year-old woman walks into game and goes, "What's your Xbox ID, madam?" It's like, "Ethel pawns you."
Ethel.
XX420.
Oh dear. It's times like that make me think I wish I didn't put my year of birth in all of my email ID tags because every time I show up online now and it says 89, it's like, oh, why 89? That's around. I was like, that's the year I was born. That's why.
That's how old I am. It's the year I was born, how old I feel.
Hey, but tell you what keeps you young, games, ladies and gentlemen. What game's better to keep you young than Hitman 3, assassinating people with cheese wire. Is it called cheese wire? I call it cheese wire, but I think
it's a garrote.
Is that what
if that's what makes you feel young, I'm not sure I want to be friends with you anymore.
Well, as long as you're not on the list.
That's how you stay youthful.
As long as you're not on the... Yeah, you kill them and then it energizes. Either way. Let's move on to what's coming. So Stadia announced on their birthday, along with all the other news, it's been a long-awaited feature and it's finally coming. They announced that Hitman 3 from IO Interactive will launch with state share.
Yay!
Which is great. So we obviously saw Dead by Daylight launch with crowd choice, and then now we're starting to see the kind of fruits of the labour, all the hard work behind the scenes. And I think launching it in tandem with a big title is quite clever because then again it draws more attention to the platform when it's got specific unique features at the game launch. Why would you play it here when you can also do this here? And obviously state share in a nutshell, gentlemen. I feel like a lot of these features they get a bit wires crossed because they all sound similar in terms of the titles. This is the one where if I'm playing, I can literally go, I'm stuck on this mission. Tom, can you help me with that? Send you the link and you can jump in at that exact moment in time. So I've shared my current state in the game and you can finish Monster Boy for me, right?
Absolutely right. Yeah. So that's a brilliant example right there. You take your current snapshot of the world, the game that you're in its current state, hence state share, and pass it on to someone else, the share part of it. So yeah, you could pass it out. You could share it to multiple people, in which case you could run things like mini competitions, speed runs through a certain boss. Like trying to find different creative ways of completing. In Hitman, for example, you could share it out amongst the community and say like, right, okay, I want to see the most creative ways that you come up to assassinating this target. I think it's part of these sort of elements that allows a little bit more collaboration, a little bit more fun in streaming as well, because it just allows that sort of like community interaction, I suppose, really.
I think it's going to be a fantastic tool for us as content creators, to be honest. Because at the moment, because of the pandemic, we're not allowed to be in the same room. If you have watched Guild, that was between lockdowns. That was fine. Just before you're getting worried on that one. But it just means that in something like Guild, where that sort of game where you're going to pass the controller backwards and forth while you play through a story together, we could do that via Discord, which is something we don't currently have the ability to do. So Chris, you could record an episode, pass the controller over to me, I record the next one, pass the controller to Tom, you record the next one, while all three of us are recording.
Yeah. I think that would be incredibly handy. But I love the thought of like speedruns or just sharing the game with other people.
Setting challenges for the communities, like
it's
up
like
a challenge.
Yeah, it's essentially it's a new version of co-op.
Yeah,
in a way, yeah, it's almost like a remote co-op, but it's more of a share the controller type thing. Like
that's how I see it.
Yeah,
you pass the controller.
Yes, that's how I would see it too.
Yeah.
So essentially, it's making single-player games multiplayer, in a way.
Not in the sense that people would be in the same world, but in the sense that you could all play it simultaneously. I'd be quite interested.
If I were playing Crash, Chris, because I'm terrible about Crash and I needed you to get past an obstacle, I could pass the controller to you to get past the obstacle for me.
Yeah, remotely. I think another good way of looking at it as well is it's going to be one of these things really where I think it's going to have very specific uses as opposed to like being used en masse, but it would be really good, particularly in the sort of climate that we are in at the moment, like Richie said before, where we could, literally just sit here the same way we record the podcast and just be able to pass the game around. It's more about passing the game in its current state. There's no sort of like multiple people in the world. It's just whatever the world is like, single player, just handing the controller. There's no other way to put it other than that.
Do we think there's a way you can claim back control easily? So imagine if you give it, you hand it over. Again, I'd be very intrigued to see what element of the game is it. Just the game world, or I've seen it because I only say it because I've seen a few horror stories of PlayStation 4 where you can share your control to someone else, and they've done it for help or assistance, and the person they've given control to immediately goes to the save file and hits delete. And their entire 60-hour whatever's gone. I'm like, is there going to be limitations where we can smash a big button and say, no, control is back to me in my world? Or do they have like full control of your entire menus?
Well, separately, is there also going to be a limitation on whether the person you're giving the link to has the game as well? Like, do they have to have the game on their account?
My assumption is it's almost going to be like create a duplicate version of your state, and that's
copy
what
the save
sent
file
over. Yeah. So you still have your state, but they can play through and then almost share it back. And that's when it update yours. So we really don't know. I suppose we'll probably find out early next year.
Speculation.
Like, can you keep playing, or do you just see them moving around on your screen, a la like remote share in business, when like an IT technician jumps in and like, oh, I'm just going to take over your Microsoft Word just so I can tweak the settings and admin access kind of thing.
The reason why I'm assuming it's like a duplicate instance is because I know Google are very focused on things like content creation, help giving more tools for content creators, things like crowd choice and crowd share. This is one where you could put down the link to your state to your entire chat.
Yeah.
And almost run it as a competition and go, okay, from this point, first person to get to the end wins.
Yeah. And then I want to see your 30-second capture to show me.
Yeah.
Prove it.
Yeah, prove it.
All right, so it's some kind of like state share multiverse, you think, Richie, where it branches out into a different path of like, there's one existence and there's yours.
Yeah.
And then they can be melded back together at the end.
Metagaming.
It is.
Do you know what would be really
It's
cool?
interesting too. That's coming through. So
Yeah, it would be really cool as well, is because we've obviously got things like, I mean, here we go. We've got screen share as well, or whatever it's called. We could also have like I wonder if there'd be an element or like possibility in the future where you share your state with people in a chat, for example, while you're streaming, and then anybody who accesses it, you immediately get like, you go into almost like a UI where you can see their viewpoint. You get like almost like a security type footage where you've got like multiple cameras of everyone who's accessing it, and you can see them and run them simultaneously. Because that'd be quite fun if you could see them all side by side as well, rather than have to like go through each individual one, or, you know, just have to like just take one and do one person at a time or something.
I think that sort of idea, I think it's going to take hold, and like some small indie developer is going to make use of all these different features to do something really cool and interesting. Because I do think indie games is where you probably developers, especially if Google are footing the development costs, this is where you have a bit more license to play.
Speaking of licenses, Richie, license to kill. Moving on very swiftly then, we've got I.O. came out this week on Stadia's birthday, but not in line with Stadia. Project 007. Get hyped, everybody, because it's been a long time since we've seen a 007 game. A proper one, in my reckoning, maybe Bloodstone with Daniel Craig.
Okay, yeah.
Which was it used the Call of Duty engine, and it was like told an individual story with Daniel Craig's likeness. But it's been a while. If no one knows, Daniel Craig's last movie should have been out by now, and we're moving on to pastures new. And when I read this news and I saw the video, and they put the bullet into the chamber, and it panned round, and you had the swell of the Bond theme, and then the beat kicks in. It was like, and then it just goes bang, Project 007, and then I.O. Like, I know we discussed it on a post show a couple of weeks back what you would want to see in next gen games, and I theorised, go back and watch it if you've not checked that out, it's on our channel, Naughty Dog picking up the mantle, with Sony owning the Bond IP, Sony having the studio. It seemed like, and the storytelling chops that Naughty Dog have brought to life over the last 10 years, partnership in heaven. However, if there was somebody else I was to pass the baton over to, if Naughty Dog were busy on other projects, I.O. make a literal spy assassination stealth game, and they make some bloody good ones as well, as we all know. So, just like it looks.
It's a good fit. It's a good fit.
It is a really good fit. And what I'm liking about this is it's an origin story, so which gives so much room to create this, and it's original as well. It's an original story, so that creates so much room for them to tell the story they want. The problem I think with a lot of Bond games suffer from is movie tie-in itis, where you're trying to fit the game to the narrative of a movie, but the very different pacings in the two medium. So, and it doesn't always work quite well. This
100%.
is being built from the ground up as a game, just using that the IP. They're not tied to any movie, any particular Bond. It's just like, go.
Yeah.
This is really exciting news.
Let's face it, like the world of James Bond, with the spies, the assassinations, the gadgets, the vehicles, it literally it's a franchise that lends itself to video games more than any other one I can think of, other than high fantasy or space. It genuinely ticks every box. Okay, he has amazing luxury cars, racing levels, vehicle levels, transport, driving, whatever, car chases. On the flip side, gadgets. It's got crazy watches, zip lines, rockets, belt buckles like that do things like blow walls up, like rings that break glass. Like we've all seen all the cheesy Bond movies of yesteryear. It's got the suave stealth missions. It's got the spies. It's got the intel. It's got the hacking. Yeah,
it's got those visual romance novels.
You know, if you take Hitman 1 that's just launched a couple of months ago on Google Stadia, that initial like boat level, that could easily be a James Bond level.
Yeah.
Easily.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, all you need to do is give Agent 49?
47.
Agent 47. Give him some hair and he's James Bond.
Give him some hair.
Give him some hair. I mean, Bond could be bald in this one. Imagine if they just literally copy and paste all the assets over from Hitman 3 and they just like, they generally just give him some hair and then just make a new thing.
What are your thoughts on like this potentially having like a character creator, so you design your own Bond?
I mean, it could, but I do think part of the the staying power is that he's a quintessential like British agent. So I think allowing you to make them like bright green and have like
I'm not going that far. It's going to stick to it'd be a
within reason.
Alien James Bond. I mean, James Bond could be an alien, right?
I mean, if he can be anything else, of course, why not? Equality.
In terms of what I do hope, I do feel in the last decade of games, I think we've gotten away from the bad movie tie-ins now. I think it was an era that we lived through with our PlayStation 2s and our early PS3s and Xboxes and such, where they tried to crack at the whip. It was all down to like legal licensing and stuff, and we know the things like Activision made a lot of games just because if they didn't make a game they would lose the license, so they would make it by default just to cling on to the license. And cash-ins with movies, they do genuinely work, because I remember as a child when a movie would come out, I'd see the tie-in and it would give you the energy thing, and I enjoyed the movie, I want to play that movie. And like some of the best, like, let's not get kid ourselves, gentlemen, the Lord of the Rings movie tie-in games are phenomenal. See, from EA of all people as well.
They build good games with the IP, and it worked. Where if you just take any popular movie and slap a game around it, it just doesn't.
Yeah. Well,
you have to think about the right fit. It's got to be a good game.
You mentioned, Chris, that the last game that you remember of James Bond was Bloodstone, but actually there was one in 2012 called 007 Legends, which was created by Eurocom, and Eurocom no longer exists. It was published by Activision, and it was actually the fourth and final James Bond game released by Activision, and it was received awfully. So I think, Activision well out of the picture now. Hand it over to someone else. Let's get this license. Let's get it back up, and let's see some good Bond.
Yeah, let's
see some good Bond.
Interesting. IO Interactive are an indie company now, technically.
Yeah. I mean, they are independent by definition.
Until Microsoft buys them.
Or Stadia.
Or Google.
Or Stadia. Or
so,
else? Embracer Group.
Yeah, we'll get on to that. So in terms of like wrapping all this up, like a great Bond finale, do we see this coming to Stadia?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the relationship is there with IO at the moment, isn't it?
That's great to see. But again, going into year 2, I definitely think we should just start looking at every big tentpole game that isn't from Activision. Is there only Activision who really doesn't play ball? Or the big companies don't?
EA haven't really set foot in until Jedi Fallen Order comes out.
It's in the pipeline, at least.
Yes,
Activision haven't set foot yet, but they don't seem to be like they don't seem to be anti-Stadia. They just seem to be quite apathetic.
Uncle Stadia.
We've just been talking about how Hitman 3 is launching with stage share. That shows the strength of the relationship between Google and IO. So
yeah. Absolutely. Activision are involved in Stadia, but only like sort of by third party. They published Sekiro for Stadia, so
no, it was Sekiro was self-published on Stadia. Activision didn't have anything to do with that deal, but neither did they prevent it. Which is why I say they're not anti-Stadia. They're just kind of apathetic to it. It's like, if you want to publish this over there, you foot the bill.
Yeah,
we still don't have Blizzard. Well, I suppose Activision Blizzard. So yeah.
But then, interesting in line with like movie tie-ins, we've also got like an Avatar game from Ubisoft coming. That's just been pushed back as well. I think everyone's forgot about both the Avatar franchise and also the game that is going to be a tie-in. But it's been a while since Ubisoft did a tie-in game. What was that?
The James Cameron stuff or Last Airbender? Because Last Airbender could potentially make an awesome game.
It would, but we're talking James Cameron. We're talking James Cameron.
Yeah.
We're talking Jimmy Cameron. Jimmy C. Anyway, other things we got announced this week, because again, like I said, crazy busy week for Stadia's birthday. We got some shadow drops come on us. We got Ghost Recon Wildlands, which we are about to jump into after recording this episode. But when you're listening / watching this, it happened yesterday on Sunday, so the Super Stadia Stashel event. So go check that one out as well. We had a great time. Remember when Richie killed that person, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely.
It was crazy.
We also did that thing with the car.
I think we should point out, though, the prices of some of these games are right in that sweet spot. I do honestly think that I'm hoping Jedi Fallen Order is going to get a solid release price this coming week, because I hate to think EA shoot himself in the foot with that. But we've covered it. But either way, Ghost Recon Wildlands now available on pro price for under £12. So fill your boots. Go check out our first look if you're excited about that one. It's hopefully going to be it was a crazy busy blast that we had with all the lovely people in the community. But again, more Ubisoft titles coming, and we're going to go sort out the cartel, aren't we, lads? Going to put them in their place and ruin their regime, I guess. Something like that. I don't really know what the story is loosely. I know it's in Bolivia, I think. But speaking of going into dangerous territory, Stadia is also, we've got some news this week that they're going to have an iOS Safari browser app good to go in the imminent future. So in and amongst all the birthday announcements, they came out and clarified that they will be rolling out shortly a Stadia app that works similar to GeForce Now and Amazon Luna do through the Chrome browser, through the Stadia browser, through the Safari browser, Jesus, and Firefox and Internet Explorer 8 and all the other things that you can run a web browser through.
Yes.
About time, gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, we still... I know that I jumped ship and I moved over to Android. Rightfully so. Anyone else should if you're thinking about it. But we do have to still acknowledge the fact that there are millions of iOS devices out there. And again, it's a device in people's hands that could have access to Stadia. Now, a lot of people are using it for GeForce Now. They're using it for xCloud and so on. Luna, again, I know Luna's to a very limited number of people right now. But it's already on iOS. So it's just one of these things that Stadia needs to be playing ball with them.
I think the difference between Stadia and Luna is Amazon developed it to be entirely web-based for all devices, where Stadia built it an app, and then Apple went, no.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they now have to go back to the drawing board for iOS and rework it. So this probably hasn't been in development for that long. It's probably only been a couple of months in development to get its browser version going.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Stadia team have actually, the Stadia developer team or the engine team have actually reached out to the guy who created the Stadium app, because we know Stadium was a workaround on iOS to actually get it working, and to great success. Then obviously that was taken off. The guy who created it then tweeted something to say like, oh, it's taken off. I had to make a couple of changes to it, and then it came back. And now we've obviously got the Stadia web announcement here for iOS. I wouldn't be surprised if there has been a little bit of discussion there, but it's nice that it's becoming official.
If I was part of that development team, I'd definitely bring him in as a consultant.
Yeah.
Well, he's a bag of gold. Let's talk.
What is he, Irish?
I don't know what country he's from, so I use gold as a ubiquitous term.
He's quite a young lad, isn't he, from what I've seen? I think I looked at his Twitter account, and I think, again, I'm sure at his age I was just messing around, going out and getting drunk and stuff. I don't recall
making some silly films on YouTube, maybe, Chris.
Well, we won't go down that. But in terms of Stadia, it's about time, like you said, Tom. iOS supports millions upon millions, massive market share. And similar to kind of the fight Microsoft are doing and Epic, obviously Apple have the stranglehold on their entire iOS market front because it's their product at the end of the day. So it's kind of like, if you own the shop, you can sell what you want through it. But when you impact such a large amount of the population, the kind of consumer rights and fair trade rules and stuff have to come into play a little bit, because you're getting to a point where you have the monopoly, which again, capitalism at its finest, but also there needs to be fair share prices going around in there. So hopefully we'll see something official. I'd like to think Apple can just sort this out on the back end, because again, the web apps don't always run at the most sleekest, because they are running through a couple of different hoops essentially to get you the content you want. And it runs pretty great on Android, so it's just a shame that some kind of daft rule within a marketplace is preventing it from just running natively on the system. It's
not even a good rule. It's a rule, for me, in my opinion, that doesn't really make sense, because they're saying that each individual game needs to be rated individually, but they already are, just not via Apple systems.
Yeah.
So it's anyway. It
is. But speaking of things being rated individually, Richie, our next star of the week is more titles rated for Stadia by the USK, which is the German ratings board, and one to hopefully tickle your football fancy here. I know you've, much like myself, you've been waiting on the FIFA news to drop from EA. Actually, where's my phone? I know sometimes on this podcast I like to give an update of how many days it's been since FIFA launched. So FIFA's currently been out in the wild for 44 days now, gentlemen, and we're still yet to hear when it's coming to Stadia, along with SpongeBob Rehydrated, Destroy All Humans, insert other titles that you're currently waiting for to come to Stadia right here, because...
Mysterious 50-year title.
It's just again, this laughing point. The birthday came and went without a Kinect, which we were hoping. Yeah. Do we think we're getting a Kinect now? We're nearly in December.
No, I don't think so before the end of the year at this point.
Now.
So...
your Christmas marketing period's pretty much up anyway at this point.
So when does it come to a point where they tell us where the fuck these games are? Like, they're coming to Stadia,
Your
but
guess is
not
as good as mine.
Like,
And
come
I think
on.
January, I think, would be a good thing as an annual thing, or here's what you can expect for the next year.
Yes.
So we know FIFA's probably not coming to early next year because he said it in the financial sentence. But
It's
Destroy
winter.
All Humans
We know it's winter, but
and SpongeBob, like, again, they're not games that I'm really clambering to play with the wealth that's on offer at the moment. But there are people out there who have and wanted to play this on Stadia, and they're watching. Like, I think SpongeBob's down to like less than 20 quid on PlayStation now. So
it's
why?
already getting discounted.
Yeah, I mean, heavily discounted. Yeah.
December Pro game.
It's just one of them things that always makes you think you do so much right, and then keeping us in the dark about stuff that, again, if it wasn't out everywhere else, I wouldn't care as much. But it's the fact that it came and went everywhere else.
Yeah, but
Come Black Friday, it's like,
are we
come on.
focusing on tiny little things here when in reality, like, you've got to take the good with the bad. Yes, okay, they've made big strides forward, and yes, there are a few things that still need addressing, like you say, with some of these games and so on. And they probably should just give us a brief update or something. But I think the focus is now very much shifting on different titles, like bigger titles, like The Fallen Order, like Cyberpunk, etc., which sort of like dwarfs these little.
Yeah, I think
Stadia's view tends to be a lot of stuff falls down to the developers to take care of. Like, yes, you've got the approval to launch on our platform when you're done, so you can announce it, but it's kind of on the developer to get it over there.
Yeah.
And then Stadia are probably not paying that much attention themselves to it.
Yeah, I think the frustration just comes from, like, could you imagine if SpongeBob came out and it was coming to PlayStation and it didn't launch on PlayStation in line with Xbox and PC and stuff, and then Sony said nothing about it? It just, you would hear something. They'd have to come out and say it is coming. There's been a delay because of X, Y, Z. But I think Stadia get a pass because they're much smaller and there isn't as many people clamoring for it. It just kind of just passes by and no one acknowledges that it's not out.
Yeah, I think that happens because of, like, the game's press that would then be reaching out to their contacts at Sony and the developers going, what's going on?
Yeah, like, we haven't had a review code. We haven't been able to get our hands on this. Like,
The
Amazon are
game's
probably
press-
reaching out saying, can we put this on our storefront?
Yeah.
Just a bit annoying. But that's not the point I was trying to make, Richie. The point I was trying to make was that Football Manager 21 has got a ratings board. So I've seen a few people online clambering for asking, we've got Football Manager 2020, is 21 coming to Stadia? And that kind of led to a few people getting worried that maybe it didn't sell as well and they don't want to bring the next level. But then we saw on their website, it got an update last week and the Stadia logo was there. And then now it looks like it's got a German ratings board, which we know the ratings board are quite pretty much cemented in place that it's coming shortly. So will you be picking this one up?
Probably not. As I do like the Football Manager series, but I didn't play 20 as much as I thought I was going to. But it is one I do jump in occasionally. But it's one of them games. It's a massive time sink, and I've got so many other games to play that I almost feel a little guilty playing it because, like, I feel like I need to crack on with it. At the moment, it's Assassin's Creed. Before it was like things like Final Fantasy and Ghost of Tsushima. It took up a big part of the summer. So that's probably why it's a no for me. But if you are interested in the game, Football Manager games, I definitely say yes, you should buy it.
Yes, you should buy it.
Yeah.
And
yes, you should.
In and amongst that news, we got some other titles. We got a game called Reigns, which I've never heard of. Apparently, there's a few variations. They're already out on iOS and Android. It looks like it's a mobile phone.
It's a bit of an interesting one. It's actually how can I describe this? It's like a medieval monarch version of Tinder. Yeah, you basically you get like your the people from your kingdom come to you and you have to either like swipe left to do something or swipe right to do something, and it just progresses the story. It's just very much like a yes no yes no yes no kind of thing. It's an interesting concept, but I'd be interested in seeing how that actually plays on Stadia, because to me it very much uses itself as like a mobile type thing as opposed to
sit there with your
a controller
going stick left, stick right, stick left.
Yeah.
Even the trailer for this, because it has been out for quite some time, and they've like got Game of Thrones iterations. They've got like I think they've got like British monarchy versions of it, and bit of a weird one to
interesting,
go over, but it's rated nonetheless. And then two of the other quick games, we've got Pixel Junk Raiders, which it looks like it's an unannounced title coming to Stadia. So the Pixel Junk games, Pixel Junk Monsters 2, I think was the last biggish title from that team.
Yes.
It seems to be like the Pixel Junk universe. There's quite a lot of these games. Nice, fun, like little whimsical titles that I've heard a lot of people who put a lot of hours into them. They really, really do enjoy them. I've got no history with this franchise, so it's one that I've heard a lot of people.
About it.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, but you both have heard of it, right? Pixel Junk.
I have, because it's one of these things. It's been around since like the PS3 days. It's been out for quite a long time, but it's like you say, Chris. It's almost like a franchise in of itself. That's I don't want to push it towards that sort of like that Hello Neighbor type thing, like that Hello Neighbor universe. But they do have, I mean, Pixel Junk. They've got racing games, they've got shooting games, they've got side-scrolling games, they've got sort of like tower defense games. It's literally like a created metaverse, so to speak. And then there's lots of different types of games within the Pixel Junk sort of IP, I suppose.
It's an interesting one.
know.
But, so that we've got that one. I guess we'll see how that one goes. Probably a pro game. We'll see.
Perhaps.
See.
Maybe we'll see all of the previous ones at some point as well.
And then final point for that one as well. We got some more Outcasters news. Outcasters was raided. Their social media team is still on fire as ever. Back and forth, giving our good friend Eddie Player One loads of shit. Making him write essays and take part in all this other crazy things. But in terms of the actual game, this cements, with this getting a rating, this cements my thought it's going to be our December Pro game. 1st of December, it not only launches, but it's free with Pro.
They've been strongly teasing it's coming soon. An announcement is imminent.
Yeah, I mean, maps, characters, bosses, battle modes, everything's came out now, so it's
I don't know why whenever I see, like, one of the things I tweeted recently was the character creation, and I don't know why it does this to me, but as soon as I see character creation in a game, I suddenly, like, my hype level just goes straight up. Like, as soon as I know that I can customize and not just pick predefined characters, I'm just like...
Make a character creation game.
Yeah,
it's not a game, it's
man.
Creation.
Yeah, just like...
all your stats, you design your hair the way you want it, it'd be fantastic.
I mean, the amount of time I spent in Baldur's Gate 3 creating a character is just... that alone. Just give me a character creation sim.
The entire series is just re-rolling new characters.
Yeah, interesting.
But yeah, super excited for Outcasters.
Because remember, Outcasters was, again, fall 2020. And I don't know about you guys, but as soon as we hit December, my mind is we're fully in winter now.
Winter doesn't officially hit until the 21st of December, like by the
According
calendar.
to
So, according to the weather people,
the
people who made the calendar.
Do you know what? The weather people sound like some crazy villains in a Resident Evil game, which brings us on to our final story of, kind of one of the final big stories of the week anyway. There's so much news. Capcom were the unfortunate victims of a ransomware spam cyber attack, and loads of information leaked, not customer information so far that came out, so if you've got a Capcom account, don't worry too much. But interestingly enough, in and amongst that was the news that apparently Google paid Capcom 10 million to port Resident Evil 7 and 8 over to Stadia. So the first person hit from 2 years ago looks like it may potentially be very well on its way to Stadia, another big horror franchise. And then the follow-up, which is coming out, I think, early next year, next springtime maybe, is Resident Evil 8, which is Village, which is the next kind of follow-up first-person one, which was demoed at Sony Showcase.
Correct you, Chris. Capcom's statement does say that personal information of up to 350,000 customers was taken.
Oh, was it?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I might be thinking banking information. Like, it might have been the one.
I might be not. It just says personal information for up to 350,000 customers, vendors, and employees.
Okay.
But terrible news aside, from our point of view, as long as our personal information is safe and secure, two big titles, horror titles alone, that looks like no doubt we're probably, hopefully going to get Resident Evil 8 Village day and date with Stadia, but then on the flip side, we're getting a classic one in Resident Evil 7, which was very, very well received. Obviously, me and Richie are both cowards, and we've not played these games because we just don't like to play them on our own. Tom, what's your history with the current modern take on Resident Evil games? Have you scared yourself
all
into
of
any of them yet?
Yeah, all of them up to 7. So 7, 7, and obviously with 8 not being out yet, I've played all Resident Evil games up to and including 6. I haven't actually played the remakes though of the original 3, but I have played all of them like historically up until
Well, I am right in saying 8 is meant to be a sort of sequel to 4, isn't it? And 4 is often one of the greatest games of all times list.
I do think in the trailer reveal, when I was watching it, there's a few people I was watching it along with who said like the family or the characters in it are throwbacks to people in 4.
Yeah.
Did enjoy 4. Yeah.
I'm just figuring, is it just
Leon and Ashley
set in that same sort of like village? What was it, like a Spanish village that you went to in 4?
Yeah.
I remember the colour palette very well.
Yeah.
from seeing that like murky orange dusty environment that was happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, so great news, and if it does come to fruition, that's not only another big studio we've asked for a while where these bigger titles are, and I think getting Resident Evil just adds another pillar to the kind of every genre box is ticked on Stadia, which is huge. It's a huge boom.
Resident Evil, it's another one of them big franchises that spans pretty much our entire lives playing games, so it's like to have it in Stadia is another tick.
100%.
These are the things we need over there.
100%. And as excited as and scared as I am, it's definitely a game that for streaming, I think when we're allowed to get together as a collective once again, that'd be a great playthrough for the 3 of us to jump in. Because I don't mind getting scared with friends. It's when I'm playing it on my own, I just don't enjoy it, because who wants to be scared on their own? At least when you're with other people, you can laugh it off and go, oh, that scared the shit out of me.
Halloween 2021 stream.
Halloween 2021.
I think there's some really interesting stuff to look at inside this Capcom leak as well, where I won't go too much into information, but in too deep into the information here. But that 10 million, the way it breaks down as well, is quite important, because if we look at the financial information, and yes, this is all sort of speculation at the moment. There's no official confirmation that this is happening, but we do know that the supposed 10 million is being broken up to. It's around about like just shy of 2 million for bringing Resident Evil 7, but the big chunk of the money is actually to help Capcom develop an engine to allow them to easily port titles. And interestingly, for someone like me, I love the Devil May Cry franchise, a big, another big Capcom franchise. Devil May Cry was also built on the most recent one, Devil May Cry 5, was built on the Resident Evil 7 engine. I think the idea behind this money as well is to basically set Capcom up to sort of allow them to essentially go back through their back catalogue and port to Stadia as well. So I think there's some real big stuff here, not just what we see on the surface of Resident Evil 7 and 8. Potentially, that would be huge.
Yeah.
But, there's more to this. We just need to wait a little bit longer to get the official word on it.
And we've said since day one, this should be where Google start to throw about like the heft of wealth that they own. Because let's face it, like 10 million to Google, by the time the contract was signed, they probably made it back within a day. So
there is another article that we haven't touched on yet, and I think we might address this a little bit more in detail next week. But Google have also put out an advert to say that they are willing to pay developers of RPG titles upwards from between 10 million to 100 million plus, depending on whether it's an indie, a triple A, etc. For games being developed for Stadia up until 2023. Like up until and including 2023. So there's quite a lot there that could be happening behind the scenes. And I think we are finally seeing them from a business perspective, throwing around that cash finally.
And they need
to. That goes in nicely with the Jack Buse article that came out this week, where he actually says his team had done with 2021 almost. The focus is mainly on 2022, but he kind of hinted that 2023 is planned to be a bit of a big year for Stadia. It was kind of an off-the-cuff line, but
great point to touch on, Richie. The Jack Buter article, which we'd love to spend probably a whole post show talking about.
There's an hour in that.
There's an hour in that alone, because the guy comes out and just very much talks like very confidently about Stadia, its future, and he's so just like straight and true to it. Like he acknowledges its downfalls, he acknowledges its positives, and I think the biggest takeaway that a lot of people got from it is when talking about the future, he was very brash in saying, we're not even worried about 2021. Our eyes are set on 2022, 2023 and beyond. So for those naysayers who say those 3 people who are enjoying Stadia, we're sorted for the next 4 years. So,
we're good.
We're good. We're good.
The big thing I'd take away from it, that like one like kind of paragraph of text from the it's a MobileSyrup article, is that it just shows Google are supporting Stadia in the long term. They wouldn't be looking at 2023 if they're thinking it's a flop.
No.
Yeah. I mean, we've knew this all along. With hiring like Jay Redmond, buying studios, Shannon Studstill, and like some of their acquisitions they've picked up from both a staffing point of view and then also like building studios. We all know, being gamers ourselves, the time and effort that goes into making these things, and people who are still out there who are none the wiser going, oh, Stadia's still alive, it's still a thing, I thought it'd be dead, oh, happy birthday, I guess. Like, they're not connected as we are, and that is the general public, unfortunately. And there are millions of gamers who are none the wiser, and I think all the moves from the Premier Edition to articles like this to celebrating the birthday to deals with Capcom, this goes a long, long way to really driving home the message that they're in it for the long game, and they should be, because let's face it, Google aren't going anywhere. So why should we look back in 10 years and think Stadia's gone anywhere? Like, the millions and millions, let's just face it, they are one of the richest companies in the world. They could essentially throw a wealth of a small country at this if they wanted it to truly work. And I honestly think over the next decade, they will. They want to compete, otherwise they wouldn't have considered this at all. Big money talks. And
I agree.
Off the flip side of that article then, Richie, we also got the news that apparently 400 games and upwards are being tracked. So earlier in the year we heard that 120 games are coming to Stadia, or they're tracked, and we're seeing that now. We're seeing, I don't think I can look at my Stadia screen now without new games popping off every day. And here we are, 400 games, gentlemen.
It's interesting how the narrative's changed from where are the games to, can you update your UI please, it's hard to see my games.
I mean, with 400 we need a search bar, right?
We do. So it's 400 games in development right now. Let's just be clear. This is 400 games that are currently in development from over 200 developers right now. And we know we've also had confirmation within that same article that we've got 25 exclusives as well. Stadia exclusives are in the work right now.
Yeah. And I think the thing is, that's the one that always annoyed me a bit. It's like, oh, where are the Stadia first party exclusives? Like, the studio's been around for a couple of months. Give them a chance.
It's true, but don't forget we've also got the partnerships with the likes of Harmonix, etc. as well.
Supermassive. Somehow they're working on that in amongst their 10 horror anthology games they're doing. But that's something to... And again, clearly they can turn around those games quite quick. So
I think we're going to get a big library of horror games coming to Stadia at some point, what with the likes of Resident Evil and Supermassive.
Great. So we'll probably talk about that interview later because I think Jack, industry expert, been around for years. He's worked, I think we looked into it before our Thursday stream, and he's worked at PlayStation and everything. So he knows his stuff and he knows what he's talking about. And I think we all came away from reading that interview saying this guy needs to be the face of Stadia. If Phil Harrison doesn't want to get out of his house and come and do this kind of front and center marketing for Stadia
with this changed Stadia logo,
exactly, and obviously there's all the other people, Hoffman and stuff, who are working behind the scenes. We've got Chris and Grace at community managers who do a great job. Jackie B, get him front and center. I'd love to see him on the adverts, the promos, on the stage shows when they come back. Because again, just the way he talks in that interview is like, this is the type of discussion we want to hear about. Tell us about it, and tell us about it with confidence. Be proud of it, and it's great to see now he's got the ammunition to talk about it with confidence. And go read that interview if you haven't done. MobileSyrup, you'll be able to find it on Twitter. Search it out. And then a couple of final things to wrap up, gentlemen, for this week. Destiny 2 went free. We theorised last week on last week's podcast about what happens now it's no longer a pro game. Just put it for free, right? What a way to fix it. And you can play this, I think Tom, you alluded to earlier on, without the pro subscription. So
I think I just want to touch on a couple of things quickly with this story, because I think there's some really important information about this that actually means that Stadia will be far more relevant as a result of it. We've seen the likes of big game media already changing their opinions on Stadia because of it. We've seen the likes of Tom Warren from Verge. He's been very vocal about Stadia. Stadia is awful. The 3 people on Stadia and things like that. He is now just come out and he said this solves a huge problem for Stadia. Now it's not just a platform where you can buy a la carte, but now you've got something for free. All you need is an email account. That is going to be huge for a lot of people who want to get into, particularly with the latest expansion. All you need is an email account, and you can play it, well, damn well wherever you please, as long as you've got a mobile device or a laptop. And we're seeing that reflected through the numbers. So I won't go into the specifics because compared to other platforms as well, the Stadia numbers are still low, but they are increasing, and they're increasing at a very nice rate. Between August and November, the player base for Destiny 2 tripled. We should partly say that maybe because of the new expansion. Literally the day later, which was the November the 19th, which was the anniversary day, we've seen an increase of, essentially another further, about half of the player base that it had increased by 50%. Sorry, there we go. And a day later than that, it increased again by a further 50%. So we're seeing a nice increase day by day.
Interesting. That's the same timeline of when the Stadia Premier Editions were probably getting delivered. And I, for one, the first game I played on Stadia was Destiny. I basically used Destiny as a tech demo.
Well, absolutely.
And I'm guessing there's lots of other people.
Well, imagine this. Let's take ourselves... Sorry, Richie. Let's take ourselves out of the equation for the way that we deal with it. You've just installed the Stadia app for the very first time. You open it up. What are you going to do? You're probably the first thing you're going to do is you're going to claim the free stuff. Mm-hmm. You're not going to buy anything. You're going to claim the free stuff. And arguably out of all the free stuff that's available, the first one you're probably going to play is a AAA game. And out of the three things we've got at the moment, the biggest AAA it's Destiny 2. It is. And that's, you won't even need the pro subscription for that. It's just there. If you literally load up the app now, the UI has changed. There is a button that literally just says straight there, like, play Destiny 2, just right now. There you go.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are probably already familiar with how Destiny plays and feels to play. So it works quite well. It's like if you've already played Destiny 2 in the past, jump back in and go, yeah, this works. Like, this is from how I remember it being.
But back to your point, Richie, I think cross progression will be the next big boon that they get. If Bungie can sort that out, that'll be the difference when people say, I'm currently playing on PS4, can't secure a PS5 for any time soon. I want to play this. I'm hearing things about people playing it on their phone, on their tablet, at work, on the go, in the bedroom, on the toilet, whatever they're doing. I'm a massive Destiny fan, but I don't want to start from scratch because I've got 2,000 plus hours of my life into this character. You can just take that character with Bungie's account, drop it onto Stadia, and now I can play it on my phone and continue and grind away and do those little chip away lives at games as a service things on the move.
I'm right. Cross progression already exists. It's cross play because that opens up Stadia to the other platforms.
Yeah. So
everyone else already playing.
You're absolutely right. Let me just be clear as somebody who plays Destiny 2, cross progression exists. You can take your save from one platform, your character from one platform, and move it anywhere through the Bungie server. That exists. What doesn't exist is cross play, but that is scheduled for Easter 2021. It is currently in the works at the moment. That was announced before when they announced the Beyond Light and the Destiny sort of like future roadmap. They announced that they are working on crossplay and it will be with us. But they didn't mention Stadia specifically. However, I can't see them not doing it.
Right. Well, if I remember rightly, the reason they said it isn't there basically is because they were focusing on getting it out to PS5 and Xbox Series X.
Yes, yeah.
And
so the first
progression is the next big thing for them.
The first iteration they're working on is between generations, so Series X and PS4 to. Xbox One and PS4 to Series X and PS5, but then they're looking at getting everything together, that's the big one right there. Everything together. Anyway, that's Destiny 2.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of the big one as well, final news story of the week, the Embracer Group getting bigger and bigger. It's this news story that I think got pushed under the rug by a lot of outlets this week because it came in amongst so much other news. But essentially, the guys over at THQ Nordic, they've acquired 13 more studios, ranging from a variety of sizes, making a variety of games from Shadow Warriors and Pinball. So yeah, they now own 58 different teams.
How do you just casually buy 12 development studios? I might start a development studio just to see if they buy me.
I mean, it's just crazy, but there's not necessarily like many like high profile ones I would say in there. I know the Zen pinball games are like they just kind of are there on every game store, every Game of Thrones, Monopoly pinball, any kind of IP that's going, they basically just make a version of it. Star Wars pinball, all that kind of stuff. And if you're into that kind of thing, great. But yeah, 30 new studios. Maybe one of those studios could get on with the Stadia part of SpongeBob and Destroy All Humans, eh, lads?
That is THQ, isn't it? SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is Destroy All Humans.
Stop focusing on buying things and release the damn game.
But yeah, I'd love to know where they're getting their money from, because it's certainly crazy stuff happening. So that's your update for the Embracer Group. And then finally, before we wrap up the show, Tom, I'll throw it over to you for our game updates of the week. See what stuff we've got in the pipeline for our players out there.
Dear me. This has been a long episode, hasn't it, really? There's so much to talk about still. Okay, so we won't spend too much time, maybe about a couple of minutes on each one here. First thing we need to talk about is the Marvel's Avengers is finally getting its first big content update. We've seen that we are now getting the Kate Bishop story, taking focus at AIM, or I can't remember the exact name, something like that.
AIM, yeah. I thought you were making a pun with the taking AIM.
That's not taking AIM. There we go. I just should have gone with that. I'm super excited to see what Marvel's Avengers do with new characters in future. We know that they're putting off the Hawkeye story a little bit, focusing on Kate Bishop. Plenty of IP to touch on there, so there's a lot of characters that can get. Chris, I think you're still playing a little bit.
Yeah, I'm still playing a little bit. I'm looking forward to this as the next, because again, a lot of this stuff was delayed. They pushed it back, so it's coming in December, and then the new content will be coming in January. And you would like to think they're going to have new stuff every month, essentially. The big thing for me is we've got to remember the unfortunate passing of Chadwick Boseman seemed to push back a lot of Black Panther and Wakanda content, because there was rumours around another hub world of Wakanda. It's referenced a few times in the story, so in an ideal world we'd probably like to see this laid out a bit differently, but I know the game's getting shit on left, right and centre in the news, and I for one I enjoy it as an Avengers fan, as someone who likes just like a little bit of a grind here and there. I do think this would benefit from the similar thing we've just discussed with Destiny. Whereas that cross progression, that cross play option, if you can put many hours in elsewhere, but then you want to play it on the go, I think this is a game and a user base that would benefit hugely from that cross play, cross progression. But yeah, more to come. Like I said, a wealth of characters that they've not even looked twice at yet. So plenty of opportunity.
Absolutely. Next in the news, we've also got an Immortals Phoenix Rising post-launch roadmap, so we know exactly what we're going to see coming in the future, straight from the hands of Ubisoft as well. Again, I'm still very much looking forward to this title. We've got 3 new, I assume it's DLC, so it's going to be like the first season, I suppose, is what we're looking at here. So we've got Immortals Phoenix Rising, a new god, Myths of the Eastern Realm, and the Lost Gods as well. So it looks like we may be touching into lands further than Greek mythology in Immortals.
You've got to test the waters for those sequels, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've got Immortals as the title, haven't we? I feel like that's the capture point, and then we're going to change Phoenix Rising to
Phoenix
other
Explores
things.
Ragnarok,
because really intended to be like the franchise.
Yeah.
It's huge. Yeah.
I must admit at this point, though, guys, I have cancelled my Immortals Phoenix Rising pre-order at this point, because I am waiting for that Ubisoft Plus. It's one of those titles that, because I'm so engrossed in other games right now, that I can't dedicate the time to it, and I could just benefit from paying monthly instead.
It's like
we should remind people as well, the demo returned as well.
The demo did come back, yes it did.
Yeah, we should touch on that. Yeah, it's came back as well. And Pac-Man's launched as well.
It has. Another thing I should say is I do believe they've changed it slightly as well, so that if you pre-order it, which
you get a free premiere edition, is that what you're telling us, Tom?
No. They, I believe you're going to get a completely new level and like quest set as well that you can't get. We know we obviously get the armor set through the demo. If you haven't played the demo yet, go try it out. Make sure you get that before the game launches. But by pre-ordering the game, you are also going to get a whole new sort of like quest line as well. So we get the Stadia specific island, and we'll get a new quest line and quest area too. I know.
I need to be able to freeze time to play all this stuff. Like, this is coming out 7 days before Cyberpunk. I've not touched Watch Dogs yet. I've got 10 hours into essentially what's probably going to be 120 hours of Valhalla. I'm just wrapping up on Miles Morales and Astrobot, and just What a time. There's no games, right? Gents?
No.
There's no games on Stadia. What a time.
No.
I'm absolutely trying to burn through Valhalla as quick as I possibly can. But the Assassin's Creed games, it's not like you can just go out and play them at 100 miles an hour. They're actually fairly slow paced.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take it back. THQ Nordic, take your time. We don't need SpongeBob. We don't need Destroy All Humans. Just maybe push it back to Q1 next year, because clearly we've got enough on our plate. And FIFA. FIFA can wait as well.
And speaking of enough on our plate, like now Destiny 2 is free to play and Beyond Light is out. They've also just announced a brand new raid, Deepstone Crypt, which is out as of yesterday. So by the time you're watching this, it's been out about 3 days. Raids are a big part of Destiny. It's sort of like your end game content right there. I definitely think it's one that a lot of people in the world tend to try to be like, the world first to beat the raid and stuff. It's incredibly hard content. Very rewarding to do, and it's a great thing to do if you've got a good fire team.
I remember playing Warcraft, people competing to be the first to take down like Lich King and stuff.
Interestingly, this time though, what Bungie have done is they've now introduced a world first title belt for people who clear the raid for the first time. We're bringing wrestling home, baby.
I
world first title belt.
It's a unique accolade.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I've got to find more time for Destiny 2 as well now, gents.
You won't do it.
Dear. No. Last couple of things we need to talk about. El Hijo gets released on 3rd of December on Stadia, and more importantly for myself as a huge Star Wars fan, and for you gents too, Jedi Fallen Order is out on the 24th. So by the time you're watching or listening to this podcast, nice t-shirt. I appreciate that, Richie.
It's sheer coincidence, actually.
Yeah. So it'll be out tomorrow. Tuesday 24th. So keep your eyes open. We're hoping for a good price.
What do you think, Tom? What do you think?
I'm surprised we haven't had the price yet.
$59.99.
Oh.
I'm hoping sub 30, but again, it's EA. I'm not holding out for it. I reckon $42.99.
Oh, I'm gonna say $29.99. Great Britain.
If it is, I'm buying it.
Maybe a pro deal. Maybe that's the price, and the pro deal brings it down to like 22.
You know what? If it was like $59.99, but it was on the pro sale deal under sub 30, that's probably a nice way.
That's probably a good entry.
Yeah.
That's it for your game updates. Lots of them.
Yeah, lots of game updates and lots of news in general, which we get. This show every week just gets longer and longer, ladies and gentlemen. We just don't have enough hours in the day, let alone to play games, but to talk about them on top of that with you amazing people out there. It just goes on and on and on. And but we love it. I'd rather sit here every week and talk about games than the lack thereof. So amazing stuff. Busy week. And once again, thank you all for tuning in to listen to the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode number 61. 61, everybody. We're getting close to that magical number. And thank you again to all your continued support. Thank you to our patrons, of course, who make that extra step in supporting us. You can head over to patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia to show us that little bits of extra support. It does really help us out. Helps us fund new tech and buy new equipment and reinvest in the content that we do bring you. And more importantly, it just puts a big smile on our face. You also get some stuff early. You get the post show nearly a week early. You get private chat with us as well. Just like you can chat with us over in our Discord group. So don't forget, if you want to be more
and community game nights.
Community game nights as well.
We do get some Patreon game nights.
Plenty of killing happened in Dead by Daylight over Halloween on our community games night as well. But again, if you haven't done so already, please like the video, give us a subscribe down below to help this channel grow, and share it with your friends. You may have people who've just received their 7 new Premiere Editions and they're wondering who to follow, who to share with, and who to talk about. And we bring you a weekly podcast wrapping up all these Stadia and gaming news. So thank you for watching again. Stay tuned. Have a great week in gaming. My name's been Chris.
I've been Tom.
I've been Richie.
We've been Sounds of Stadia, everyone. Have a great week. Take care. See you soon.
Bye.